Obviously, the People's Republic of China has a certain disdain for Chrystia Freeland, doesn't want her to become the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada, which means that they have a vested interest in somebody else to be the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada.
We bring you breaking news that Chrystia Freeland's campaign has been targeted by the People's Republic of China, launching a campaign of their own to discourage voters from backing the former Deputy Prime Minister from becoming the next leader of the Liberal Party of Canada.
Let's take a look. From the National Post, China linked to a malicious WeChat campaign against Chrystia Freeland, monitoring task force.
Ottawa. The Federal Elections Monitoring Task Force says the Chinese government is linked to a, quote, coordinated and malicious, end quote, disparagement campaign against Liberal leader candidate Chrystia Freeland on China's largest social media platform. In a release late Friday, the federal government's Security and Intelligence Threats to Elections, or SITE, task force said that a suspicious number of quote-unquote disparaging posts targeting Freeland recently began appearing on WeChat. Quote, the launch of this information operation was traced to WeChat's most popular news account, an anonymous blog that has been previously linked by experts at the China Digital Times to the People's Republic of China, end quote, reads the statement from SITE. SITE and its partners said Friday they spotted over 30 WeChat news accounts that were part of the campaign against Freeland. The task force briefed both Liberal Party leadership and members of Freeland's campaign on Friday before making its findings public. The statement did not say what the disparaging content was about, nor did it identify the WeChat accounts in question, but it said that the malicious content was viewed by millions of people. Quote, the campaign received very high levels of engagement and views, with WeChat news articles disparaging Ms. Freeland netting over 140,000 interactions between January 29th and February 3rd of 2025. RRM Canada estimates that 2 to 3 million WeChat users saw the campaign globally, end quote, reads the statement. In a statement on social media, Freeland said she would not be intimidated by Chinese foreign interference. Quote, having spent years confronting authoritarian regimes, I know firsthand the importance of defending our freedoms. Canada's democracy is strong. My thanks to our national security agencies for protecting it, end quote, she wrote.
Okay, so as this is breaking, this is about all we know, folks. Bit of background if you don't know what WeChat is. So WeChat is kind of your equivalent to WhatsApp. Now, what is it? It's essentially just an instant messaging app, and it is the only one that is allowed within China. So you may be wondering, why is it over here then? Well, here's the thing. In order for people to communicate with their relatives back in China that have since moved to Canada, WeChat is their only option because they can't use WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger or anything like that because China literally geo-blocks the internet around their borders so that you can't use any of those services. So if they want to speak to anybody back in China on an instant messaging app, you have to use WeChat.
Now you may be asking, so what? This Chinese app is saying all this stuff about Chrystia Freeland. Who cares, right? The target here is Canadians who are part of the Chinese diaspora community who use WeChat, live here in Canada, vote here in Canada because they're Canadian now, but still have access to this information via WeChat.
And the WeChat platform is essentially run by the People's Republic of China government. Now you have a news blog that is essentially an account that is owned by the PRC that is putting out this information. You may have also noticed that it said millions of people viewed it and 2 to 3 million people viewed it globally. So you may be wondering, so what? Who cares if people viewed it outside of Canada? Well, the only people that would be looking at it outside of Canada is people back in China. Why is that important? Because the relatives of the people that are living in Canada that may vote for Chrystia Freeland in a Liberal leadership race are going to possibly be influenced by their relatives back in China who have seen this and may be discussing that with their relatives. So this is a very sophisticated campaign.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, think of how many of you speak to your family members about politics, right? Now, it would be like information being put out on this Chinese app about Chrystia Freeland. Many people in China are viewing it, and then maybe they're sending it back to their relatives back in Canada.
Now, the other thing that's really interesting here is that so far, Chrystia Freeland has been the only Liberal candidate that has been targeted by this.
That we know of.
Will that stay the same? Don't know. Time will tell. But it'll be very interesting if it's only Freeland that is targeted here. Obviously, the People's Republic of China has a certain disdain for Chrystia Freeland, doesn't want her to become the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada, which means that they have a vested interest in somebody else to be the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada. Time will tell who that is. So, but that's very, very interesting. And what's not interesting though, and it's what is sad, and it needs to be talked about more. And this is also one of the tragedies of the Hogue report, basically saying, oh yeah, there's nothing to see here, is the people of the Chinese diaspora community. You move to Canada thinking you've escaped an authoritarian regime, but Canada allows it to follow them. And this is the sad part, because these people are harassed, they're intimidated. Who knows how many police stations there are, if there's still any, because we haven't heard an update from the government in a while. The last 2 that we knew of were in Quebec.
Montreal, yeah.
But these are people that they don't deserve to be harassed. They don't deserve to be persecuted by their former government. They should be protected by this government. That's the whole point. So that's the one thing to just consider in all of this. And why is the PRC doing this? Because Chrystia Freeland's home base is in the middle of Toronto. And that's where a large portion of the Chinese diaspora community actually lives. So that means a lot of voters in the GTA, and the Liberals need the GTA in order to win the next election as well. The interesting thing about this is that this may also cause the Liberals to lose, more votes in the next election if these diaspora are actually going to be influenced by this, and if Chrystia Freeland somehow is successful in winning the Liberal leadership of Canada. So there's a lot of interesting pieces going on here, but we still think that it's going to be inevitable, based on the media coverage, based on everything that we've seen, that Mark Carney is going to be the next leader of the Liberal Party. And it makes it all the more pertinent that he not become the Prime Minister for very long, and that in the next election, the Liberals are relegated to hopefully 3rd and 4th place. But that's the information as it stands, folks. Now, while we don't have any sympathy for Chrystia Freeland, she does deserve to be able to operate her campaign without foreign interference. And maybe this will cause her and the other Liberals to take foreign interference a bit more seriously next time.